Doctor very much evolved as a character. He started off he was always very mysterious, didn't like outsiders, very much, it's me, my granddaughter, no one else. Once the companions in Ian and Barbara come along, he starts to humanise, especially when Susan leaves the TARDIS and he adopts Vicky as his companion. A much warmer, lighter side to his Doctor comes out, and he acts more as sort of like a nicer grandfather rather than this miserable old bugger who was happy to cave in a caveman's skull with an axe just to get back to the ship.
The second Doctor is characterised as the cosmic hover, a wanderer who wanders into situations. What I love about the second Doctor is that he doesn't take centre stage a lot of the time. He steps back and watches, and he starts to manipulate people around him. Again, he's the first Doctor who really starts to try and make a difference from the moment he steps into a situation. He's not trying to get away, he's trying to get involved.
John Pertwee kind of made it fun and creative with Bessie, the Whomobile, kind of introducing new ideas, like Sonic Screwdriver.
Tom Baker's Doctor was different again. You still had all this inquisitive adventurer, wanted to travel sort of thing, but he layered that with sort of off-the-wall humour that would confuse his enemies. I mean, that's quite cliche, but he did, but he would also have this darker side as well.
Fifth Doctor is very earnest and also actually quite rude. He's a little bit like the Third Doctor. He's very irritable. There's talk in the Terrence Nation novelisations, he has an open face and he's very calm and controlled. He's not. If you watch the show, he's surrounded by kids who argue all the time and he doesn't really want any of them in his TARDIS. The times the Doctor sighs and rolls his eyes in his fifth incarnation, there are so many of them.
Colin Baker, I don't know what to say for that, to be honest.
Why is that?
No, some of them are just mental. Like, the worst Doctor Who episode is the Colin Baker one. I forgot what it's called now. Time Lash, is it? Yeah. That was dire.
I'm one of the people who love the Sixth Doctor. I adored him at the time, and I still love him now, because the Sixth Doctor is a pragmatist. The Sixth Doctor will just tell it how it is, and then probably throw in a few quotes from Shakespeare as well to prove how clever he is. Again, he's not a very likeable Doctor, but, not a lot of the Doctors weren't.
Sylvester McCoy is another Doctor who sort of went through two different stages. Started off very comical, very Charlie Chaplin-esque, bumbling around, playing the spoons off of Kate O'Mara's breasts, all this kind of thing. And then by his second season, his character does a flip turn, and he's a lot more secretive. He gives out little bits of information, bits at a time, and you never really know what he's doing, but he's always one step ahead, and he's like the chess master. He uses people for his own games, and as the series continued, you start to see that actually stuff that happens in this episode actually goes back all the way to this episode, but the Doctor knew about it, and you're like, oh, he's really quite a clever chap. When we get to Paul McGann's Doctor, it's quite difficult to talk about McGann's Doctor because he only had the one TV appearance. Obviously the Americans wanted to try and make it a bit Star Trek-y and make him half human and all this kind of thing, which has since been abolished. He was, again, full of life. He was a bit more like Davison, a bit more humanised. He was just excitable.
Listen, Molly, this is going to be really difficult for me to explain, mainly because I don't really have a clue what's going on myself.
Not got all the answers then, the Doctor?
Not by a long chalk, but isn't it obvious that those things, the Daleks, are intent on doing us some serious harm?
Well, yes, but... And Dr. Sturgis was working for them.
Yes.
But you said he wouldn't kill me, or you, so why should they?
Molly, the last time I looked, they were busy destroying your hospital camp and snuffing out thousands of lives with time winds and energy weapons.
And then we'll come on to one of my favourite Doctors, Christopher Eccleston. I like the way how he's witty, but in a kind of sharp. He's to the point. I like some of the lines he comes out with, like, you sound like you're from the north.
Lots of planets have a north.
10th Doctor is a man who has come out of battles and he realises that he can now do stuff he couldn't do before. He realises that he is the last Time Lord, and that means he's got a responsibility. And also, I think there's a danger in him that he might go too far, as we saw. He again is a very, very old man, a very weary man. He constantly talks about how old he is, how much his eyes have seen, and he's quite bitter. And again, he covers it all up.
Matt Smith. I've really liked Matt Smith, to be honest. I think some of the whole Amy Pond rubbish got a bit over the top, and half the episodes I had no idea what was going on.
Very much back to Troughton, very bumbly, very silly, sort of doing funny little things, but with the weight of the world on his shoulders, you could see that this is a man who's been through a lot, and beneath all the fezzes and all the bow ties, actually, this is just a very old man who is just doing what he can in the universe.
Excellent. And how do you think Capaldi is going to change the show?
I think for Capaldi, I definitely think he's going to be darker than Matt Smith, and I definitely think we're going to lose some of that zaniness. I don't think we're going to be having so many catchphrases about bow ties this and fezzes that. I think he'll probably play it a bit more straighter, and yeah, I think is what the show needs. We've had two young doctors who were quite wacky in their own ways. They were quite eccentric in their sort of silliness. I think we need to go back to that sort of straight hero. I'm sure he will still have elements of comedy in him, because all the doctors have always had like little slivers of comical moments. It's almost like a bit of a back to basics, Pertwee-esque Doctor, back to the hero, I think.